The armies of Israel had witnessed a miracle that would be remembered for generations. A young shepherd, armed with nothing more than a sling, a stone, and unwavering faith in God, had defeated the mighty Goliath. The nation rejoiced. David's name spread throughout every town and village in Israel. Wherever he went, people celebrated the young hero who had saved God's people. As David returned from battle, crowds filled the streets. Women danced with tambourines, children ran alongside the soldiers, and songs of victory echoed through the land. They sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." To the people, it was simply a song of celebration. But to King Saul, it sounded like a threat. Saul's smile faded. His heart became heavy with jealousy. He thought to himself, "They have credited David with tens of thousands, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom?" From that day forward, Saul watched David with suspicion. The king who had once welcomed David into his palace now saw him as a rival. Jealousy began to consume Saul's heart. Instead of thanking God for giving Israel such a faithful servant, Saul allowed fear and pride to control his thoughts. Not long afterward, Saul was again troubled in his spirit. His servants called for David to play the harp, just as he had done many times before. David entered the palace carrying his harp, unaware of the storm raging inside the king's heart. As gentle music filled the throne room, Saul sat silently on his throne. His eyes never left David. Suddenly, without warning, Saul grabbed the spear beside his throne. With all his strength, he hurled it across the room. David reacted instantly. The spear struck the wall behind him. David escaped. For a moment, silence filled the palace. The king had just tried to murder the man who had saved Israel. Yet David did not seek revenge. He quietly left the palace. Saul realized something that frightened him even more. The Lord was with David. Every mission David received ended in success. Every battle strengthened his reputation. Every victory caused the people to admire him even more. Rather than celebrating David's success, Saul became even more afraid. He promoted David to command soldiers, hoping the dangers of war would destroy him. But wherever David went, God gave him wisdom. He led Israel's armies with courage and humility. The soldiers trusted him, the commanders respected him, the people loved him, and every victory made Saul's jealousy burn even hotter. Inside the royal palace, Saul searched for another way to remove David. Then he discovered that his daughter, Michal, had fallen in love with David. Saul believed he had found the perfect trap. He told David that he could marry the princess, but only if he completed a dangerous task against the Philistines. Saul secretly hoped David would never return alive, but David accepted the challenge without hesitation. Trusting in the Lord once again, he led his men into battle. God gave David victory. He completed the impossible mission and returned safely. Saul had no choice. David married Michal. The king's plan had failed again. Meanwhile, someone else inside the palace saw what Saul refused to see: Jonathan, Saul's own son. Jonathan recognized that God had chosen David for a special purpose. Rather than becoming jealous, Jonathan loved David like a brother. The two men made a sacred covenant before God. Jonathan gave David his royal robe, his sword, his bow, and his belt. These gifts symbolized loyalty, friendship, and trust. Their friendship would become one of the greatest examples of faithfulness in the entire Bible. But Saul's hatred only continued to grow. Finally, he openly commanded his servants, and even Jonathan, kill David. Jonathan was shocked. He knew David had done nothing wrong. Risking his own life, Jonathan secretly warned his friend, "My father wants to kill you." David could hardly believe it. The king he had served faithfully, the king whose life he had risked to protect, now wanted him dead. Jonathan pleaded with Saul to spare David. For a short time, Saul agreed. David returned to serve the king once again. But the peace did not last. Another war broke out with the Philistines. Once again, David led Israel to victory. The people celebrated him even more. Saul's anger exploded. As David played his harp before the king one evening, Saul once again seized his spear. He threw it with deadly force. David escaped for the second time. Now he understood. There would be no peace inside the palace. That very night, Saul sent soldiers to surround David's house. Their orders were simple: wait until morning, then kill him. Inside the house, Michal discovered the soldiers outside. Without hesitation, she warned David, "If you don't escape tonight, Tomorrow, you will be dead." Working quickly, Michal tied ropes to the window. David climbed through into the darkness below. He disappeared into the night while soldiers continued watching the front door, unaware that their target had already escaped. Saul was furious. David was gone. The shepherd who had defeated Goliath, the faithful servant who had played music for the king, the loyal commander who had won battle after battle, was now a fugitive. With only his faith in God to guide him, David fled into the wilderness. Behind him, Saul gathered his soldiers. The greatest manhunt in Israel's history had begun. But David was about to discover that even in lonely caves, barren deserts, and dangerous wilderness places, God never abandons those who trust him.